You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
Scott Self. I'm here. Michael York.
Here.
Richard Lane.
Here.
Brandon Self.
Here.
Victoria Ames.
Here.
Mark Scalera.
Here.
Alternate Jane Johnson.
Here.
Alternate Stacy Goodell.
Here.
Alternate Charlie Harbeck.
Here.
Selectman's Rep Mark LaBelle.
Here.
Here, okay. We have a full board. Don't need to seat any alternates. I'll continue with the agenda tonight. We have the approval of the minutes from January 5th. That's the site visit. And approval of minutes January 8th, 2026. Public hearings. We have a public hearing on an amendment to amendment number 6 on the rezoning proposal. And under discussions and other business, we have rules of procedure discussion. That's our rules of procedure, and conflict of interest ordinance discussion, the town conflict discussion, and site plan review regulations discussion. Back to the top. Approval of the minutes for January 5th, 2026 site visit. Everyone has read them. Anybody have any changes or alterations? If not, a motion to approve would be in order. A motion by Richard to approve the January 5th site visit minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Victoria. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And you'll abstain, okay. January 8th, 2026, the minutes, planning board meeting. Is there any changes or alterations for those? Then a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by Michael York to approve those, the January 8th minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we'll move on to our first public hearing, the only public hearing, which is the amendment to amendment number 6 for the rezoning proposal. So we discussed at our last meeting about that, changing that amendment, about removing some lots from amendment number 6. And we had a motion to have a public hearing for it. So in the meantime, staff checked with our attorney, said that we could do it. And I also checked with one of the attorneys up to the Municipal Association. He said that yes, you can do it as long as you have 2 weeks in between having a motion and having the hearing, which we did. We've got 2 weeks, so we're good to go. So I will open the public hearing on the amendment. And it looks like staff has something to say about that, or you want us just to continue with it?
Oh, you guys can continue.
You're just there for,
I'm just here
for
for
support, right?
Here in case you guys have any questions.
Okay, good.
I think I have some members in the public here who wants to
All right.
speak as well.
So I will open the public hearing to amend amendment number 6. So what that's going to do is, let me get down to it here. Amendment number 6 was the, we'll just read it. Are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number 6 as proposed by the planning board to amend the Swanzey zoning map as follows? Rezone the following parcels by moving them to residence district. And this is the new proposal here. Maps 210, lot 12, 13, and 14 would be included. Maps 219, lots 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 46, 50, and 51. And map 220, lots 64, 118, 121, 127, and 133. So the change here is on map 219, we're removing lots number 58, 59, 61, 62, and 63. And on map 220, we are removing lots 56 and 57. So, board have any comment on that? Richard?
Because of the change that we got by some of the owners of property and the expansion of what the original concept or request was from Fieldstone, I think we should go back to just what Fieldstone wanted, which is we would eliminate lots 46, 50, 51, and map 220, all of those that are there. And I don't know if any of these individuals that are in the audience that are property owners are in that area or not. But
So,
we've taken it upon ourselves to expand this beyond what was originally asked.
yep.
And where there seems to be a little bit of confusion and uncertainty, I think we should just go back to what the original request was from Phil.
So I think if we do that, I think if we do that, we won't have time for another public hearing, and we won't be able to submit that amendment. Am I correct?
We're having a public hearing on this amendment today, so we can amend it as we see fit.
Yeah.
So whatever we leave with tonight is the final version. So if we were to remove more lots, that's fine. We cannot edit it after this meeting. So,
Yeah, so, generally, when we have a public hearing, if we change the amendment, we have to have another public hearing after the amendment has been changed. Now, this is just, eliminating some of the lots in and out of there, but we're still changing the amendment. That's why I'm wondering about if we have enough time to have another public hearing. Usually that's the case.
well, we don't. No, we don't have enough time to have another public hearing. I do disagree with removing more lots, just for the fact that we're trying to have less lots in Swanzey that are more than one zone district, and this brings us closer to that goal, even though we're still so far off still.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting the questions and discussing with the board first, and then I'll open it up to the public.
Specifically, lot 50 and 51 are split between residents and rural ag. I think those need to be one or the other. They can't be split between both zones. 58 down, those are gonna stay rural ag, but eventually, the zones that we removed from Amendment 6, eventually we should propose those to just be rural ag, so they're not split between two zones. I think having those two separate zones is silly. They should be one zone. So the proposal as it states, I really support leaving it in because I don't think Swanzey should have these lots be two different zone districts.
So you just said lots 50 and 51.
They're currently split between the residents and the rural ag
Currently
district.
now, yeah.
Right now,
I
yep.
thought you meant we're gonna end up with it that
Nope.
way, but no, we'd end up.
They're gonna
with
be in
all
residents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that makes sense also, because, we'd be having, split, it's split now, and
It's split throughout.
it is.
Balance of that.
Yeah, and it does.
So what are we accomplishing?
They're gonna be all residents
It would
after.
be residential zone all
Versus
through the whole area there. But that doesn't mean, that they have to, say, build houses out there. But I mean, it's just opening up the fact that they want to do that. But I know what you're saying. You're saying go back to their original proposal and leave the rest rural ag back in there.
I don't know, the individuals that own lot 46, 51, and the others that I'm asking to eliminate from it, have they even voiced an opinion?
Out of 2 rounds of notifications, no.
Are they residents in Swansea, or are they out of town, or what?
They'd still have to be notified.
They were notified.
Regardless of whether-
Yeah, 2 times legally. I mean, they've had ample opportunity to comment.
Anybody else on the board? Stephen Solani?
Stephen Salino. I'm here to be one of those residents that would rather stay rural ag, but your maps and the map I have are, because you guys make this really, really difficult. It's not, so my lot is abutting the rich guy that's not here, that wants to put all these housing in and turn that area into a slum. My lot abuts his. So I tried to buy the lot that he has, that he's gonna go after next by, it's like next to. Thank you. According to you guys, but my map don't say that. There was a change in tax. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Nobody told me that. So I still have the old map. That's what he was talking about. You guys make this so like difficult tonight. You got me. I'm just saying, making it very confusing. You know, I came from an area where this is what they did, and it turned into a ghetto. Quick, like 10 years. You got druggies and all kinds of. So I don't want I brought my kids here so they could have open land. I don't need this again. So I'd like mine taken off and leave it as rural ag too, because I have trees, I have a tree farm. I'm actually LLC'd as a farm.
So. Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't make it last time, I was a little busy. I got a lot of kids and things went crazy.
So if this went through and your lot was in it, it still doesn't mean that you have to develop it that way. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I don't want this to happen at all, because
I understand that you don't want
eventually
that.
I get taxed more. It always changes. I've been through this before. Somebody's getting paid off, it always works out that way. It's all
You don't
money,
know-
it's
You
dirty.
don't know that for a fact,
It's
though.
dirty,
So let's
man.
just stick to the facts. We'll stick to the facts.
Because
But
you guys have this law up here where you have, what do you call that?
You
Oh,
want your lot out of the.
Yeah, I want it rural ag the way it
You
was.
want your lot to remain rural ag,
Thank you.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at right here.
Sorry I'm a little, because I just left all this to
Yeah,
come
that's
here
okay.
to avoid this.
Yeah, we got it. So, lot 51 right there.
Am I 51, you sure?
So if we drew,
All right.
so I could draw right straight across there and see what Richard's saying there and just put it back to the original one. Yeah, and then there's that 48 there. Those guys originally thinking of that. Adam, do you know which lots were the original ones that they wanted? Okay, which ones are those?
Looking at the map, Mr. Ciolino is 64 Wheeler Lane, so that's lot 51.
That's him. What were the original ones that the applicant wanted, Fieldstone wanted?
46 and up, so let me name them.
So here,
Let me name them.
so we probably just
It
leave
was,
these.
yes, it was. It's all of Burke's land. So, it's all of John Burke's land.
46 is right there.
Okay, 46 and up, I see. Okay, yeah, 46 and up, I got you. Yeah, so,
We just leave these alone.
yeah.
But we also have small lots to the west, 38, 39, 40, 43, 44. Those are just, those aren't part of Burke's proposal, so
This way, yeah.
Aren't they already residential or no?
those are all business.
Oh, and that's business, oh, that's up here.
We also haven't heard from those property owners either.
Yeah, that's up
And,
there.
the residence district, I'd say, benefits those more than something like Mr. Ciolino's land, because they're small lots.
So, yeah, if we're accommodating other people, which we're in this lower lot range, then we should accommodate lot 51 as well. You know, and that's what we're doing here. We're leaving the other ones out, and he came here at the meeting and doesn't want his lot in it. Other people came to you and said they didn't want the lot in it. What's fair is fair, probably should do that. At least draw the line across where the top of his lot is, and go from, like you just said, 46 and up, perhaps.
46 and up.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
A lot, if you come up my driveway, a lot to my left, it's owned by somebody named Nancy Legere, and it's landlocked. How are you gonna make, because that's what I was trying to purchase at the time. How are you gonna make a place that's landlocked into rural?
Into rural, you said? Or you mean residential? You mean residential, right? Well, if it were to be developed that way, the lots could be smaller and an access road would have to be put up in there and then taken over eventually by the town.
Before you made residential?
No, before a development was done. It could be made residential, but the development, but if a developer went in there, they would have to put a road in there first with frontage on all of these lots if they wanted to develop them.
You still make it residential even though it's landlocked?
You can, yes, because it's landlocked now and it's rural ag. So it's not much difference. It's just, you just,
There's no access, so I don't understand
Right.
how you can make something residential if there's no access to it. That's what is access.
yeah, well, that's how you can do it. When it's developed, it has to have access, and you have to have the proper frontage on the lots. And when it's not developed, you don't, because you aren't putting in the building.
Does anybody know if that piece of land is actually for sale or?
I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't be able to advise you on that anyway. You'd have to check that out for yourself. No, you'd have to go to,
A realtor.
yeah, a realtor most likely, or wherever you go. So,
Could call the landowner and see if he wanted to sell it.
so we're looking at lot 46 and up.
46 and up, right?
And up, draw
At
the line
least it's
across,
allowed.
so it would not contain these lots here.
No.
Can I make a suggestion to leave 64, 118, and 121? And, I mean, if not, no biggie, I guess, but if you guys want a clean line
Oh,
south of
yeah,
46,
yeah.
that's fine too,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, but that's, yeah, if those landowners, apparently they probably are, you haven't heard from them, you aren't here tonight, probably okay with it. And it's not really spot zoning because just almost all the way, or two sides of that, it's residential anyway.
This is all residential
Yeah.
here, yes.
So it wouldn't be what's considered spot zoning, so that could be left like that without a problem. And then if 46 was residential, it would sink into that residential zone on either side of it. And then we're just talking about the rest up by the industrial park and zone business. So
so,
really now we're back to just taking lot 51 out.
correct.
I do believe.
Yep.
Okay, now I get it, now I get it. So let's do that.
Did we get the question answered, what are the original ones?
No, we didn't. You wanna know what they are? What were the original lot numbers, do you remember?
21946, 21942, 21941, and a portion of 21012.
Okay. And let's look at it. 'Cause I think that would put it to more like almost a spot zoning type of a deal. That would be getting there.
And there's also a town of Swanzey parcel, which is 220-133, that we want in there.
Okay. Those are the lots that were original. So what do we think? Remove lot 51
Yes.
and continue with the amendment?
Make that motion,
Is there any further discussion from the other, because we haven't. Where would I go to get the map, the new map, Yes. You can go to town hall, yeah, at any time and get those. So is there any further comment from the public on this rezone here, or this amendment number 6? And any further comment from the board members?
What exactly are we going to be looking at for a final map on this?
Okay,
Okay, is lot 21950 going to be where we have that dotted line now going through, halfway through it?
Oh, I see, he's talking about this one right here.
okay, well, that is already residential on that half of it.
Part of it.
Yeah, so it's
Okay,
part
so
of
we're
it.
going to jog into,
Oh, I see, should we cut it at the lot line?
Yeah, so
We
the
won't be
reason-
cutting at the lot line because it's mentioned in here that
Yeah.
lot is within it, so that lot,
Yeah, the line would actually
it
go.
will be jotted
Like
into
this.
there.
the reason why I made the map like this is because I only outlined the portion that was not residential. So I'm sorry if that was confusing. But all of 50 will be in
Yeah.
residence if it passes.
Yep. Okay, that answer your question, Richard? Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Then I will close the public hearing, and when I do, we'll be taking no more comments from the public, so if you need to speak, speak now. I'm closing a public hearing. So, there we have it. Again, the amendment number 6, amendment to amendment number 6 would include maps 212, lot 12, 13 to 14, map 219, lots 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 46, and 50.
excuse me, you said 212?
Oh, did I? 219, sorry. 219, lots 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 46, and 50. And map 220, lots 64, 118, 121, 127, and 133. That's how it would be. So, if that looks good, and if there's no further discussion on it, then we need a motion to proceed with that as
I'll make
amended.
the motion to proceed with that,
As amended,
as amended.
because we took lot 51 out of there.
Right,
Okay.
as amended.
Motion by Michael York to proceed with amendment number 6, or the amendment to amendment number 6, to go onto the town warrant with lot 51 removed from it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, good. Let's do that. Now we're moving on to rules of procedure discussion. So, where do we? Everyone, I'm sure, had a chance to read through them and look at them and decide on them. So at the last meeting, we were discussing, actually, under organization number 2, which had to do with the alternates there. And I was just reading through, I'll read it as it is now. Alternate members, the planning board may appoint 3 alternate members for staggered terms, 3 years each. An alternate for the ex officio selectman member may be appointed by the selectman pursuant to RSA 673. The term of the ex officio alternate shall be the same as that of the ex officio member. No problem with that one, right? So it's the one underneath the participation one is what we're talking about. So it does read now, participation by alternates. An alternate member who is not sitting in place of a regular member may participate as a non-voting member in all discussions and deliberation by the board, including participation in a public hearing and deliberations after a public hearing, but shall not vote on any matter. And we were discussing whether to change that because the members that are seated and voting on an application are the ones who have to make the decision and vote on it. And we aren't taking any testimony from the public or anything on that. It's all of our own testimony, the voting members, as to come up with a decision. So I don't think we should be taking testimony from the alternates that aren't seated, even though they're board members. They aren't seated, they aren't voting members. So the voting members should come up with their own decision, is what the reasoning behind that.
This is after we close the public hearing.
Exactly, after we close the public hearing, because they can participate in during all the discussions and everything, just not. And I have a rewording for that if you'd like to hear it.
Does that include the fact that after?
It does. Let me read it out. Here's the reword for the organization 2-B under that. It would read, an alternate member who is not sitting in place of a regular member may participate as a non-voting member in all discussions, including public hearings, but shall not participate in deliberations and shall not vote on any matter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on here. What else do we have here? Anybody, anything in number 3 about members serving on other local boards, vacancies? Pretty straightforward.
That's basically all state regs anyway.
A lot of it is state regs anyways, you're right.
So on number 3, the term of 2 planning board members, serve on the conservation committee. And unfortunately, that's not the case, because I'm on that committee and Jane's on that committee.
But she's an alternate, so
Yeah.
it's not a voted in or a seated member. It's the planning board votes in the alternates.
Let's see, so in any other board commission provided, it's such multiple membership is not result in 2 or more planning board members, including alternate members, serving on the conservation commission. I think that's including.
Yeah, actually it is, yeah. So,
Is that something that we change, or is that something that one of us need to resign?
well, the state RSAs are the ones that say planning board members, 2 planning board members can't be on one of those other commissions. I don't recall that the state RSAs say alternates.
I like this one. When I read this at home, I thought what Mark is stating until just a minute ago. When I reread this, it says, and you've got to think about the punctuation, provided that such multiple membership does not result in 2 or more planning board members, including alternate members, serving on the Conservation Commission, the local governing body, all local lands, etc. But I'm not a conservation member. Mark is a conservation member. No, I'm an alternate.
Oh, you're an alternate on that board too. So, yeah, that's different. Yeah.
That doesn't address what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That just occurred to me.
Yeah,
I'll accept that explanation. Sure.
okay. We'll accept that, but for future, you know, should we change it?
In the future, you might not want to do it that way. But really, I'm an alternate here, so I'm not voting on anything tonight because everybody's here. And I'm an alternate on the
There.
Conservation
Yeah,
Commission.
so you aren't a full member there or a voted-in member there either, so actually it doesn't pertain to alternates at all, really, in this regard. We ought to scratch that out of there.
But what happens if the week she replaced somebody on the Conservation Commission, was seated for somebody, and then that same
That
week
means
we
you
had a planning
lose
board
it.
meeting, and I wasn't here, and you sat her in for me?
But she's only seated
Just wondering.
during that meeting. She wouldn't be seated, unless we had a joint meeting with the Conservation Commission, she would not be seated on both boards at the same time. So, but we could just
Yeah.
scratch that out of there.
I was just playing devil's advocate, I don't have an issue with it myself.
Yeah, and the including, that you brought up, including alternate members, we could take that out of there. I think 672-7 doesn't mention alternate members. Do you know where that it does?
Enough done my head.
Let's just find out.
I think you're looking up on the bottom of
You
the.
don't know that one, Michael, why not?
What's that?
You don't know that one, the 672?
Not that one yet, no. I will now. I don't know everything, Jane, I just got the guy that does.
It's on page 389,
What's
planning board members serving on other boards.
But I'm not a planning board member either.
Which page you on, did you say, Richard?
It's 389.
This is including all.
7, 8, 9, okay.
So this may be my last one.
You see that?
Yeah, it doesn't mean, they're talking about appointed members or elected members. That's just because some towns appoint the members of their planning boards and some towns elect them, we elect them. We used to appoint them here. So it doesn't say anything about alternates there. So we ought to scratch that out of ours too, I think, just so there's no confusion later on.
It's
Anybody
hard
here?
enough to get volunteers as it is.
Yeah, but we're just saying on,
Right.
we're saying it's okay for the alternate members to be alternates on either board. If they're members on either board, then you can't do it. We gonna scratch that out or what?
You're suggesting
I'm sug-
scratching, including alternate members?
Yes.
By
Yes. What do you think?
Yeah, right there, so.
Scratch it out.
Scratch it out? Everybody over there, scratch it out? Mark?
Scratch it out.
Scratch it out. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Then I think we're in agreement with that. We'll just scratch that out, including alternate members. Good catch, Mark.
Hey, everybody agrees.
Okay, moving on. Let's see, we got vacancies. They're there. Nomination procedure, that's straightforward. Attendance and participation, the oath, their meetings. Let's see,
So on number 5,
on the alternates.
attendance and participation.
Yep, okay, yep.
So in the past, I've informed you if I wouldn't be here.
Yep.
And this is saying that I really should be informing Adam. I know Adam sometimes says, let me know if you're attending or not. How should we do that? I have no problems.
Should be Adam.
Okay.
Because he's got to know whether we're going to have a quorum or not beforehand. So if he's the go-to person, if he knows, then we can try and do something about it, call somebody up, hey, can you make the meeting or whatever, so we have a quorum. So yeah, it should be the town planner. Okay, under meetings,
So under number 1, meetings, I think we should add that during November and December, it's the first and third Thursday.
do we want to lock ourselves down to that? Because,
Seems like it's, with those holiday, November and December holidays, it almost always is the first and the third in the last couple of years that I did here.
in December too, though, we're talking about Christmas and Thanksgiving, correct? Christmas doesn't always fall on the same day, does it?
It doesn't, but the first and third Thursday seems to work.
I don't know if we want to just
Would we get in
Tie that
trouble with
down.
timeliness of
We did
seeing
have that somewhere
applications
else.
and deciding?
Adam, do you recall where we added that?
I don't, off the top of my head, no.
You do remember it, though, right?
Well, we added that, we added it into this one right here, didn't we? Right there?
Calendar.
Yeah, into the calendar.
I think we're safe if we added, with the exception of November and December, that the planning board would meet the second and third Thursdays of those months, rather than leave the rest of it alone.
We can, I think it just,
Because either way, none of those holidays are going to fall into that third week of either one.
no. So again, you're saying, or you guys are saying to add something into that paragraph that says what?
Except for the months of November and December, where the board meets on the first and third Thursday of those months.
Except,
Yeah,
that sound good?
It was second and third,
I said first and third.
Which
maybe
section
back
is
to
that?
back, coming out of October.
Well, second and third would be back-to-back also.
What, yeah, true. Sorry.
I mean, that's what we kind of wrote on the calendar as well, that we just did. So I think to
And-
be consistent.
In the past, we've also just canceled those meetings. If there was nothing going on there, we just canceled them, so we could do that too. You know, we could leave it in there as we're gonna meet on those days, and if there's nothing there, we just wouldn't meet.
And nothing says we can't move it on a different day too, like we do in the past.
So,
We never have it on Thanksgiving, and it usually comes on the fourth Saturday, Thursday.
so again, the rewording would be, we're gonna reword that? Mark, your rewording in there, did anybody have any objections to Mark's rewording? Or shall we leave it alone, or what? Because again,
These regulations are really for us, right?
They are.
They're publicly posted
Yep,
to inform the
they're just for
public,
us.
So
just for us.
maybe we could keep it loosey-goosey since.
We generally, yeah, we just make the decision as it gets closer to the point
So
in
in
time.
November, December, where we leave it loosey-goosey, we can add that in there.
We could, yeah, so,
Just have a Christmas party instead?
If you go back to back, then you're gonna have to change your application times leading into it.
yeah, you're right, but
Gonna make
we
a lot
would
more
know
sense.
that prior to.
We've already changed the application times for back-to-back meetings. It's just 3 weeks.
And you can just do it at,
It's always
But if-
through
But
the-
if we leave it where it says 2 weeks out, you have to publish the actual application times also.
then let's leave it alone.
Confused.
Is that what we're saying? Just leave it alone and move on? Or,
Sure. Let's just leave it alone.
let's leave it alone.
We can always reschedule when we want to.
Let's leave it alone.
It won't be going on Thursday.
Okay, we're down, let's see, quorum, which we know what that is, yeah, regular meeting, that's a meeting. Down to number 4, and that one might need a little changing there. It reads now, if any member finds it necessary to disqualify oneself from sitting in a particular case as provided in RSA 67314, the procedures contained in the ordinance of the town of Swanzey, conflicts of interest described and regulated, adopted at town meeting March 14th, 1995, will be followed. Those are state requirements anyway, so I think we could make it a little clearer, and I'll just read you what I would suggest to put in there, and we can go from there. This is meeting on number 4, it says, if any member finds it necessary to disqualify oneself from sitting in a particular case, or if the board votes pursuant to RSA 673-14-2 that the member is disqualified, your chairman shall designate an alternate to act in place, in the member's place as provided in RSA 673-11. Because that's what that's talking about. You know, we're talking about going back to the town of Swansea ordinance there, conflicts of interest, but that's what it boils down to, is that if there's a conflict, someone is seated for that person. So,
I like that language. I wonder if, because we can be more restricted than the town ordinance, if we might be interested in considering how that disqualified person should be paid. And by that I mean, my experience with this, with another nonprofit, which was the Monadnock Conservancy, was in the interest of making sure that there's really good trust for the organization, and here public trust is a huge, huge importance to us, the person who recused themselves would actually leave the room.
Or at least leave the table. You can participate in the public if you want to, but you're right, yeah.
So
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying that's one extreme, and that was important for that organization, because there are a lot of sort of movers and shakers in that, and they didn't want to have any sense of somebody influencing the procedure by, glowering in a corner or, exuding power somehow. I wonder if, in our instance, we might consider having the person leave the table for sure, but not testify as a member of the public, not argue for whatever the point is as a member of the public. Because I think that's confusing. If you, Scott, were to go out there and you would be recused and you started advocating for something, we'd all be paying attention, because we respect each other. And so it feels really
What if that-
difficult for members of the public.
Sorry. What if that person had some good points, though, to speak on, Because it is a public meeting still, and, it's not like it's a private
But that
private
person,
company
but
or
that
something.
person, maybe that person has private interest, that they're actually trying to persuade us of, although they're bringing up other points instead.
Well, I don't know if you were on the board or not, but I remember a few years ago when somebody next to my father's shop wanted to put all their land together, and there's like a few different pieces of property, so he had to sit out on that because he was one of the abutters. But he would have gotten railroaded because he had the original deed to all those properties, and the person that did their survey was wrong. And so he proved himself otherwise. So I don't
Brought in
agree with,
data,
I don't
yeah.
agree with what you're saying.
I
Just
think what you'd
stuff
have
like that.
somebody do is, they'd have to come up here and they'd have to actually notify everybody that they may have a conflict of interest. But they're speaking as a private citizen, not as a member of the board.
And maybe give like a description on how, like we'll say, for instance, the company I work for, if they wanted to build a franchise here in town or something like that, and then I could say, hey, look, I work for this company, this is what I do for them. Should I seat myself out and, maybe just give a brief description and then let me.
Well, you can, but you normally,
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to finish that next first?
you can, but normally you don't have to tell the public or the board why you feel you're disqualified. If you just say, I have a conflict here and I can't participate, that's where it should end, rather than giving a reason why. Usually it's not what you do, give the reason why. You can give the reason why if you want to, but normally you don't. You just leave it like that. You're disqualified, okay, you're disqualified. Public doesn't need to know why you're disqualified, whether they think something's going on, oh, this guy is married to so-and-so and this and that, oh, that's why they voted here or there. You just leave it alone, I'm disqualified, and that's that. As far as going from the table and out to the public or leaving the meeting, yeah, we can, it's up to us whether we want them to, participate or not, but they can participate under the RSAs as a member of the public. The board can make them go out, but I believe the RSAs say that they can participate as a member of the public.
Case in point is from the last selectmen's meeting, when the chair recused, went to the audience, but then came up as a citizen, notified the board and the public that he was speaking as a citizen, and presented his thoughts as to what should be done, or his concerns. So that the public, once you recuse yourself, I think the precedent is set that, yes, you can go out there, but you can also come up and you can voice your opinion. I think that's what you were getting at also.
I think so too. Jane?
That would be the legality of the entire thing,
Right.
yes. That would be a substantial point. However, I remember the night that Scott had to recuse himself because things were going on his border, and that's a great example, Brandon, But at the same time, it did not involve any pecuniary interests that Scott had. He was protecting his home, his property. There is a hairline of difference there. And I've recused myself from planning board meetings in the past when I was a member, when there was a pecuniary interest in my immediate family. And I did not come up to a public hearing and make any statements because personally, I wouldn't feel morally right about doing that. So there's a hairline there. I don't know how you can define it. It's kind of up to the person, I guess, who's recusing, but that's up to people to figure out.
But if the person has recused themselves or disqualified themselves and are out in the public, but still have an interest in it, they still have a right to speak. And because they're not a voting member, they aren't voting at all. And as Victoria brought up, the board can be influenced by somebody out in the, one of their board members out in there saying something, bringing it up, which you've got to be, that person has to be pretty careful about what they say.
That's all very true. But let's say Michael is an attorney, but he's a Swanzey citizen and he's on the planning board. But he has a client who has a problem with his acreage or something, his lot. Like tonight, maybe he has a problem with what we're doing with the zoning. Then Michael would recuse himself, and I don't think he would come up to the table to defend his client to the board that he recused himself.
You're right. No,
I wouldn't. I would have advised my client to get a different attorney.
But no, yeah, I see what you're saying there, and no, you can't act something like that. That is correct, yeah. Defending a client and being part of the board.
When you're representing,
Yeah, probably not such a good thing, but
just
in-
my,
if you're in a butter, you have to recuse yourself, like I did at that meeting there. If you're a butter, you have to, because there's conflict there. But you still can come up and speak to the issue.
I would be satisfied, because this is kind of an issue that grinds on me, I'd be satisfied if we just discussed it every year. Just to remind ourselves that this can be an issue. It's hard to set firm and hard rules, hard and fast rules for how to behave. But it's something that we need to be aware of, because the most important thing to me is public trust.
Yeah.
I really want the public to trust what we're doing and to not feel that we have conflicts. So if we would just agree to do that, maybe we could say, just review our conflict of interest policy every year.
We could do that, yeah. But, got the microphone, the speaker's back on again. But we probably ought to make up our minds as to whether the person is leaving the table or not.
Oh, for sure.
It should be done. Yeah.
They should leave the table.
Okay, we're done, we're good on that then. Then you want to leave that wording alone, or change the wording to what I read before there about how it's, how the alternate is put in place as provided in RSA 67311. I'll read it again to make sure. If any member finds it necessary to disqualify oneself from sitting in a particular case, or if the board votes pursuant to RSA 673-14-2 that the member is disqualified, the chairman shall designate an alternate to act in the member's place as provided in RSA 673-11.
Should we make a statement that the member shall leave the table? I think that's spelled out.
That's where it should go, though. If we're going to put it in there, and
Let's put it in there.
yeah, I think so too. Let's see. Then, so it should be after it says pursuant to RSA 673-14-2 that the member is disqualified, the member should leave the table, and the chairman shall designate an alternate to act in the member's place as provided in RSA 673-11. Or, just physically leave the
To the
table.
audience.
Yeah, leave the table. We aren't going to tell them where to go, but they need to leave, leave the table. So, yeah, that probably should be in there. Pardon me? Oh, I can, yeah, I can. I will, but we'll have to add that in there about leaving the table.
Do you need a motion to accept that?
Let's do the whole thing and then have a motion on the one whole thing. So, let's see, that's under meetings. And we have public hearings. Let's see, yeah, public hearings is next, or no, application decisions.
You want to just check and make sure you want to do the order of business the way it is right now? Make sure everybody's okay with it?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Just to make sure everybody's okay with it.
Yeah. Order of business for the public hearings. The order of business for regular meetings shall be as follows. Roll call by the chairman, reading of the agenda by the chairman, minutes of the previous meeting, regional impact vote, public hearings, acceptance of applications for review, informal conceptual consultations, signing of approved plans, report of special committees, and adjournment.
Should we have an S on meetings? Let's see, minutes of previous meetings. Today we,
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
Jay
we
should,
should.
maybe Jay
We can
should
put
be
an S
A.
on there.
all right.
Jay should
Got
be
the
A.
S. I'm paying attention.
Yeah, we can put that and put an S on there. But as far as the whole layout there,
That's fine.
we usually follow that, sometimes we don't, but we usually pretty much follow that. And these are just guidelines anyways. We give ourselves a little disclaimer there by saying any deviation from this order of business will not affect the validity of actions taken. Okay, applications, decisions, we're talking about conceptual consultation, design review, pre-app
Do we
review.
need to include, this, assuming that the warrant article is passed, when we do have conditional use review, when we need to include stuff for that in here? as well?
That's in site plan review regulations, right? Probably not in rules. Rules of procedure have nothing to do really with that, I don't think, do they? What would you?
About preliminary conceptual consultation, design review phase, pre-application, figure that, I mean, it's sort of. I don't know.
It's
Just
the,
a thought.
it's the site plan review regulations is what we hand out to the applicants,
Okay.
because they know we're going by that. We don't usually give these rules of procedure out to them, this is just for us to, We're gonna order.
It's not super clear to me when we do the conceptual, that, conditional use.
It'll be under public
But
hearing.
it isn't.
if that passes, yeah, we'll have to put it in there, right?
Okay.
Okay, we have, and again, it just lays out what we do, what we can do, design review phase, preliminary conceptual consultation, and we all read that probably anyways, so I probably don't need to read that. Where am I here?
I have a penciled note under public notice, and I don't know what it dates back from, but I said 10 days in advance. I don't know why I said that. Should we include that under public notice?
If you're referencing the RSA, I mean, the RSA states the days, but, I mean, you guys can decide.
And we have, and public hearings, and just says how the chairman opens the hearing, applicant shall be called to present his proposal. And I do have a suggestion on number 3. Number 3, now, members of the board may ask questions at any point in the testimony. And we generally let them finish, but sometimes we don't. And it interrupts their flow, they've got this whole presentation they're going to give to us. And it can interrupt the whole flow and get almost starting the discussion phase of public hearing before the applicant gets done reading his proposal. So I do have a suggestion in a wording here, would be under public hearings number 3, and it would just read, except for very short and necessary clarifying remarks, members should wait until the applicant has finished their presentation before asking questions. And just as a common courtesy also, I think just to keep everything moving slowly, we should, unless you have to clarify, and I've done that to participants, just to clarify something on the plans that they're going, but I try not to ask too many questions, because again, it can lead into the public hearing part of it, where you've lost the presentation, so. Anybody object to changing that wording, putting that in there like that, as a guideline for us? To try and restrain from asking any questions unless they're clarifying until the applicant is done with his presentation. Should we? Okay, except for very short and necessary clarifying remarks, members should wait until the applicant has finished their presentation before asking questions. And then I do have a question also for you, Sue. Is it better for you if we take roll call votes? I know you're taking the minutes, and sometimes you're asking me, who voted on this, or, we have enough of that. Is it easier or better for you, a roll call votes? Some of the votes, like, the minutes and all that type of stuff, we probably voice vote is fine, but on the, we'll say, applications, public hearings, those types of things, would a roll call be better, roll call vote be better for you?
I would guess if there's any that vote no, I should be sure now who voted for it.
So you leave it up to chairman's choice, and if it looks like there's going to be a combination of yes and no's, then I can ask for a roll call vote, make it easier. And then if it looks like everyone's in agreement, we can just do it. Yeah. Okay, we'll just leave it like that. Now, let's see, what else do we have here? We're still on public hearings. Let's see, any discretion? Yeah, basically how we run the public hearings, pretty much to that. Adam, you don't have anything, right?
I don't know.
Okay. Public hearing, yeah, discussions. We're down to reconsideration. And under that, on the reconsideration there, now normally, if we have let's say at town meeting, if there's a reconsideration, it has to be done by a member of the majority, the affirmative majority vote there. And we don't have that in here, but it should be for that. I'll just read our paragraph. The planning board may reconsider any decision to approve or disapprove an application for a good cause, provided it is within the statutory appeal period, which is fine. This may be done through a motion that specifies the reasons for reconsideration. Upon successful passage of the motion, the board shall schedule a public hearing or public meeting with notice as provided in 6744 ID, where they shall consider whether or not to revise or alter their original decision. Should the board reach a new decision, a new appeal period shall be considered to have begun pursuant to RSA 67715. And we've done this before. We have reconsidered, but I'm thinking of adding in there, it says this may be done through a motion by a member of the majority that specifies the reasons for reconsideration.
What does that mean?
That means by that if you're on the majority, if you pass, if we approved the site plan, you're in the majority that approved it. If we denied a site plan, you're in the majority that denied it. But whoever's in the majority and you want a reconsideration, it can't be from the minority because they don't like what happened, just saying, well, I think we should reconsider it. It should be someone who voted in the majority, whether it was no or yes, to reconsider the motion or reconsider what was done.
If somebody in the minority asks for reconsideration, they can specify a reason, I don't think that should be not allowed.
Yep.
I can see
that.
instances where more information would come in, and somebody out of the minority would have discovered that information and would therefore want to. I don't think we should.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone, because it'd be a vote by the board anyways as to whether we're going to go ahead with the reconsideration.
Right. If we made an error, a correctable error,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the same process.
Leave it alone. Good. Let's see. Records, we're to records. Clerk, yeah. My business there.
How long is the appeal period?
It's 30 days. Joint meetings and hearings, we've done that here before. Amendments, is what we're doing now. Anybody else? Anything on these rules of procedure?
I'll make a motion that we approve the rules of procedures as amended, which I believe is section 3 under organization.
Organization 2B, or not 2B?
2B,
2B.
2B,
Meetings, number 4.
meeting number 4,
Public hearings, number 3.
public hearing number 3.
Second.
Seconded by Richard. Okay, we have a motion to approve the rules of procedure with the amendments. And like Mark said, under organization 2B, under meetings number 4, under public hearings number 3, seconded by Richard. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I forgot to mention, I think it would be good to actually specify that it's our intention to review these every year. I don't think that would hurt us.
So,
It's been 3 years since we've done it,
yeah,
yeah.
so let's
Not be
see,
a bad idea.
where should we put that? It should be under amendments, right? Because it says
Right,
the
amendments,
rules of
yeah.
procedure may be amended by majority vote of the board.
Yep.
So it could say the rules of procedure should be reviewed every year and may be amended by majority. Okay. Rules of procedure should be reviewed every year.
Should be reviewed annually.
Yep. And may be amended, okay, yeah. And may be amended by majority vote of the board members present, provided such amendment is discussed at a meeting of the planning board, and following said discussion, the text of the proposed amendment is posted in at least 2 public places in town in at least 10 days preceding the meeting when the vote is to be taken. Now, Mark also had another one that we had changed in there.
Right, so under organization number 3, also changed.
We took out the reference to alternates.
Including alternate members.
Yep. Okay. Is that good with you? You seconded the motion, right?
Right.
Got that?
Agree with the correction.
Okay, with the correction. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, good. Got that. So, puts that. That brings us to the conflict of interest for the town of Swanzey. I think that's our next item.
No, actually, plan review regulations, state plan regulations.
No,
Conflict
it's
of interest is in this.
on B, right? It's under discussions and other business on B, conflict of interest.
And we could do it that way. That's why.
Isn't that B? That would be next, correct? We just did rules of procedure?
Yeah, the site plan, yeah.
Okay,
You just
site
get
plan.
confused because the way the packet flow, that's all.
Yep.
We can do it either way, I
Okay,
guess.
yeah, we'll just to go by what the agenda was. So, under conflicts of interest. So we all have a copy of that, and we've all read that copy there, and a lot of it is in the RSA's anyway, although we don't refer to it, a lot of it is in there. And do we have any discussion on that? I have one clarification on that.
I don't think you guys can change anything, by the way.
Probably not.
This is the
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we need to change something in there. It's under paragraph number 3, under disqualification in quasi-judicial matters. And you count down the sentences. I'm counting from the underlined one there. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line down. It says, starts off, required to step down under this section shall not decide of the vote on the matter under. There should be or vote on the matter under. You don't decide of vote on the matter under consideration. You decide or vote on the matter of consideration, right? So we just put that word or in there.
Our teacher didn't catch that one.
I didn't,
So, just a clerical error. That's the only thing I had on it. Anybody else?
you need to know unless it's,
I know a lot of things.
I guess not.
I'm impressed, because, sometimes you read, and you just fill in the word.
You do, automatically. You do. You just fill it in automatically and you move on. So, I don't even think we need a motion for that. It's just clerical.
Well, I don't even think we can change it without town meeting approval, so. We
Oh,
might
is
be
that correct? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because
right,
it was
that
adopted at town meeting. Yeah, so it might
So
just
we
have
don't
to
need
live
a warrant
on.
article for that, do we?
Yeah,
Now that we get to update the date, won't it be 1995,
That, oh, yeah, 1995, yeah, that's a good one there.
or as amended in 2026.
maybe the select board can make that quick edit.
I think we'll leave it alone. I think we all know what it means.
Mark, you want to see it?
Yep. Okay, that brings us down to site plan review regulation discussion. And Victoria was nice enough to give us a side-by-side on this. It makes it a little easier to compare.
Yeah, I'll start doing this from now on. This is it's a better way to present the information.
And, let's see, there are only a few things in here that are proposed to change, and,
Oh, there's a lot.
well, yeah.
Really quick preamble to this. This is very closely based on Keene's vesting schedule for site plans. I thought that they had a very thorough and well thought out vesting schedule, and so it's not exactly that, but it is very heavily based on that. This is mainly to get the ball rolling. Please feel free to edit as you see fit, but we do need some more hard language.
Yep, we do, yep. Especially where it comes to, starting the project. Yeah, I guess it is. So, under approvals, we start off on that one there. And we're crossing out the no deviation from plans as approved shall be permitted. I mean, we're not crossing that out. What we had in there was minor deviations. And I'm trying to make a case that we should leave that in there because there are times in the site plan where the code enforcement officer can just easily say, okay, if you want to, say the placement of utilities sometimes. It's not exactly there. Sometimes for whatever reason, the utilities underground or whatever, they have to be over here. Or sometimes the catch basin has to be moved because the engineer didn't figure something right or something was in the wrong place. The catch basin, that's fine. Or manholes the same way, culverts sometimes the same way. There are minor changes on the site plan that this code enforcement officer can take care of, and they shouldn't have to come back to the planning board to move, we'll say, a catch basin or something like that. So I think it should be in there with just major changes in there that says this. That says minor deviations from the approved plan. I think it was in there actually before. Minor deviations from the approved plan may be granted by the code enforcement officer. And we could just put examples of that, like placement of utilities, manholes, culverts, catch basins, and things like that. So we give them, ease it up a little bit. So the code enforcement, we've got to trust our code guy there, and if it's small things like that, they should be able to have the power just to approve that on the plans. Anybody think about that? Adam, what do you think about that?
That sounds fine. Yeah, I mainly just wanted to get rid of erroneous language that didn't,
Yeah, and that one really, it's kind of, what's a minor deviation? But if we list a few things in there, what a minor deviation is, it'll get the picture, I think. Yeah.
I'm trying, yeah. I'm gonna go
This will
back
be
and-
ongoing, so yeah.
I'm going to try to keep up.
So, also, I know we have the site plan approval shall be valid for a period of 2 years following the date on which the board votes to approve or conditionally approve the application. So we all know what that means, but if Mike, our attorney here, that didn't put him as an attorney there, could argue the fact that, well, the plan is only valid for 2 years following the date of approval. That's it. It doesn't say that it extends beyond that. I think we ought to have something, and again, I have some suggested wording here if we want to do that. And the wording would be, site plan approval will expire and become null and void if active and substantial development has not occurred within a 2-year period after the date upon which the board voted to approve the site plan. Then it can still go on to say, for site plans approved in phases, a determination of active and substantial development shall apply to the phase currently under approval, which is good. And then we do have active and substantial development. Let's see, shall include all of the following. But I think we do it as you suggested, Adam, anyways, that we can have one or more of the following, something like that. So
Yeah.
they don't have to have every single one on there, because every site plan is different. But getting back to the thing that says it'll expire rather than is good for 2 years. What does anybody think? Adam, what do you think?
So right now, the language that I propose is site plan approval shall be valid for a 2-year period, or
Yep.
shall be valid for a period of 2 years following the date on which the board approves or conditionally approves the application. It does say valid, so I don't know, it seems like it's pretty clear, but if you guys want to edit that, that's fine.
Well, if you go down to D, you use the word expire down there.
30 days prior to the expiration
So,
of approval.
we probably ought to keep it the same.
So, site plan approval shall expire after a period of 2 years?
It says site plan approval will expire and become null and void if active and substantial development has not occurred within a 2-year period after the date upon which the board voted to approve the site plan.
I'm not seeing where is that?
I'm reading actually, I'm reading from his here. I'm not sure.
It's the new language?
It's the new, I'm reading, well, that language there was my new language.
Okay.
It was, yeah, sorry, it wasn't on this.
Okay.
We're reading Adam's language there about the valid for a period of 2 years, and I'm suggesting replace it to that it expires unless they do these certain things that they should be doing. Pretty much that's what happens. The thing expires because they didn't start it, so it's done.
Sure. Under that same heading, could we I don't know if it's mandates is strong, but clearly define what we would consider substantial?
It is, yeah. Adam gave us a, right underneath there, Adam, let me just read those off. Because he goes on to say for site plans of phases, the particular phase they're in. So, one of the following would probably be good: construction and or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans, such as building foundations or footings, roadways or access ways, constructed to at least gravel base or utilities installed in underground conduit and prepared for future connection.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead, yeah.
correction, it should include all in that statement.
Well, he does have all of the following. I don't think we should hold him to all of those. Every site plan is different. You know, we'll say the construction and or installation of the basic infrastructure. That's quite a bit in a site plan.
Could we take a look at, I was talking with Mark, and he said something that I thought was really ingenious, and that's in the lower right-hand corner of the spreadsheet. He suggested actually sort of thinking about it sequentially. So first there's preparing the site, then there's sort of pre-construction, and then there's actual construction, which in our thought was like actually building the foundation. So maybe, you know, to make it in terms of increasing levels of.
Yeah, I was going more so, how important each step is. And so I was going in decreasing, essentially. Yeah, I like it the way it is, but, I mean, I can see either way, honestly.
So, I also, since we're on this here, number one, I thought that should be broken up into two separate pieces. Construction and or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans such as building, foundation, or footing, period. And then the next part, B2. And the reason for that is, one to me is construction, and the other one is pre-construction, developing the roadways, getting access to the property, so on and so forth. So I think they should be broken up. And I think having those 6 items here, as opposed to 5, it's important for the board to identify which ones, based on the project that's in front of us, meets these substantial progress.
So we would have to determine that at the time of approval, right? So we'd have this list that we go by and say, okay, you guys have to do A and B of this list for substantial. Is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, because I look at like the flattening project, right? I mean, they do 2,000 trucks of earth. That's pretty substantial.
Yep.
You know, before they even put a foundation up, you know, all they have is elevator towers.
Right.
That's pretty substantial.
Of course, yep.
You know,
It'd be a case-by-case
right.
basis.
Harry Lane, where it was, you know, pretty much a flat lot, I need to see construction. I need to see.
So are these the ones we're talking about right there? Are these? All of those, right?
Really, really fast. Before we get to the list, can we settle on language beforehand? So do we want all? Do we want one or more? Do we want at least one of? How do we want to do that?
I think it ought to be one or more, because if we're going to do it the way Mark suggested, and on a case-by-case basis, the board may choose 2 items instead of 1, or 3 items instead of 1.
Yep.
But at least 1 or more would do it. It gives us the opportunity to choose 1 or all, practically.
And it's important for the board to be consistent in how they apply it.
Yep.
So, yeah, all I did was just break this up. This would be.
Oh, okay, that's how it is. So you just added another one under there,
This would be 2.
separate one. Oh, okay, so, yep. So what Mark did was he just took the, let's see, let me
Where it starts roadway or access way,
Yeah.
that would be number 2.
That would be a number 2. Okay, so then we would have a list, yeah, that would be one added to the list.
Can I read that off real quick, just so we're
Yeah.
happy? So, number 1 would be construction and/or installation of basic infrastructure intended to support the development in accordance with the approved plans, such as building foundations or footings. Number 2 would be construction and installation of roadways or access ways constructed to at least gravel base or utilities installed in underground conduit and prepared for future connection. Got it, okay.
Okay,
That works.
that would be its own line item. And then it'd continue construction and completion of drawings, improvements to service the development in accordance with the approved plan. That would be another line item.
Going back up to the paragraph C, where you're saying shall include, I don't know if this is opening up Pandora's box or not, but at the discretion of the planning board, all or specific items to be completed.
So, let's see,
Some things that might not be on this list.
so you're suggesting that we not be held just to only the items on the list. What else might there be? Yeah, I'm thinking of a construction project. I'm thinking what else isn't covered in there. As far as substantial development, I'm not talking about completion of the site plan or completion of the project, just to start it. You know, I think we're covered there, but you're saying that we might have forgot something.
As I say, I don't know if inserting the word at the discretion or the phrase at the discretion of is opening up Pandora's box, so we just want to.
Well, we have in there someplace in our site plan regs that says that the substantial development will be determined by the planning board, but it will be done most likely at the public hearing, or when we're deliberating probably from the public hearing. So it would be laid out then as to what is expected of the contractor, and then we could add in or subtract something like you're talking about, say it didn't cover some of those. You're saying maybe a site plan might not have that stuff in it. So we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot and limiting ourselves if we held just to these.
Possibly, yes. Just giving us an out.
Yeah, so what would your wording be there? What would we just say? Instead of the shall, you brought up the shall, right?
Yeah, development shall include, or shall at the discretion of the planning board include the following, one or more of the following.
How about may include? Would that help it? Would that cover it for you? Or no?
May is probably a better word.
May include?
Because shall means you have to do it.
Yeah, shall is
So do you want to put in may? Would that help?
Yeah.
Would that do it?
But that leaves this list kind of useless then, because
No, it doesn't. If the planning board says that's got to be there, even, go ahead.
I think active and substantial development may include one or more of the following, then that just means none of that matters. If you do shall, like, you have to do at least one of those things.
Yeah, he's got a good point.
I think you need that language, because otherwise, somebody could come in here and argue like they didn't do anything, but they still met the definition because of that one word, I don't know.
So may include,
May
I'm
give-
channeling our Steve Malone here a little bit.
so it may include
No,
any or all of the following at the
I think it has to be shall.
discretion of the planning board?
one or more,
That's his
yeah.
point, it should, gotta be shall, yeah.
So, back to shall, are we?
Yeah.
Shall we? Okay, so, shall include
I may retract my may.
following. So I'm just thinking of how we could word a way out in that.
Well, maybe it should be shall include all of the following, except at the discretion of the planning board, where we say only one or one or two are meet substantial.
What Richard is saying is that what one comes up that doesn't fit this is what he's saying there. And I can't think of one that would, but you never know. Something could. He just says that we shouldn't be tying our hands.
At minimum,
Pardon?
at minimum shall include?
There, that's good. At minimum shall include one or more of the following.
So if you come up with,
Depends on, you're getting into, is it a small
Yeah.
construction project or is it a major one? like flatland, and
Yeah, it'll be different on those, right, those small ones there, yeah, it'll be way different on it. But on
Would
the,
a condition,
out of this.
could you insert a condition, instead of this, if you come up with a situation where these don't fit, you can make a condition of what you're talking about. Like, something that's not there,
well, we could say that the planning board designates what substantial development and building is and may include one of the following. That gives the planning board the authority to do what they want there, and they may include one of these if they want to. It doesn't leave it up to the applicant saying, well, it said I only had to do this. So it could be, we could put that in there.
I kind of like the idea when they all apply unless the planning board says so. I mean, I think that's
It's always gonna be like that,
right.
yeah.
So,
But if it says,
Shall
shall
include all.
include one of the following, like Richard said, we've tied our hands, if a certain site plan does not,
maybe
tail
shall
it.
include all of the following unless noted by the planning board.
Well, if the planning board, if it's known by the applicant that the planning board is gonna determine what is substantial, building or development, and it may include one of those down there, that says that the planning board may say something else that is substantial development on the property.
I kind of like where Mark was going there for a second. So we could say, unless directed by the planning board, comma, active and substantial development shall include one or more of the following.
The key thing here
I
is
don't know.
that we actually address this, right? So often we kind of let this slide.
Yeah.
So long as we have a process that makes us pay attention to what active and substantial development looks like,
Mhm.
that's the most important thing. And if we basically, if you're saying, what we typically expect is the moon, and we're gonna waive some of these things if it's a smaller development.
it puts us in a better spot.
And I think it is important to be able to, we can't anticipate everything. It's true, and it's important to be prepared for that.
So,
But these
leave it?
laws-
You're saying leave it as it is and see how it works?
Yeah, I guess. I kind of like the other organization of things going from more basic to, in the right-hand corner, starting with site preparation and getting more and more complex, right? That makes more sense to my head, because that's how you do a project, right? So it seems like at the minimum, we could say, in your case, you have to do the logging and the grading, and, but somebody else, we might say that it's going to consider, we will consider substantial development to be the logging and the grading and all that, plus put in some roads or whatever.
And there's already that line at the end of the last one saying this item alone shall not constitute active and substantial development. So then that would support, I think, the reversing the order, if that makes sense.
Makes sense to me, just in terms of how you build.
I can get behind it.
So, what are we looking at here? Maybe using the 1 through 4 instead of the, well, it would be 1 through 4 here too, right? No, 1 through 6 here.
I think we have 5 now.
We have 5 now.
And then did that language,
Five, yeah.
was that language a good middle ground, saying unless otherwise directed by the planning board, active and substantial development shall include one or more of the following? That gives you guys an out.
If we're gonna go that route, I think it should be stated that the planning board is the one that decides what active and substantial development is. We have that somewhere else in these site plans anyways, that the planning board is the one who determines it, and it's enforced by the code enforcement.
Yeah, that's up more,
Yeah. So if we use that, then we could use that same wording there and here. It says we'll determine what it is.
One or more development, you kind of qualify this statement. I think that would open us up for,
So I think the question is, which list are we gonna use? Isn't that what you're getting at, Victoria?
Which sequence?
Vicky was,
Oh, sequence in the list, because the ones on the footnote here, right, on the note side, is what we're talking about, where it starts at 1, 2, 3, and then A, B, and then 3. Yeah, 1, 2, A, B, and 3.
So A and B are subparts of number 2. So basic infrastructure includes drainage and roadways to at least a base. And then 3 is actual foundation.
As a point that out of there.
It just seems logical to me, but, you know,
It does,
we all have
but
our own logic.
that isn't, yes, sometimes, right, that's basically the way that they go usually, but sometimes that's not the way that they go, right? So we'd have to be able to split it up there, but yeah, I see your way of thinking. I guess it doesn't matter which way, they're all saying the same thing. What's the board think? I have no objection to either way. No, nobody does?
I'll reverse it on the next draft, and then you guys can look at it again, and
Reverse it or add Victoria's, we're talking, you have a copy of this, right?
Yep.
We're looking at these footnotes over here on this side here. Pretty much says the same thing, but yeah, if you want to play with that a little bit and reverse it and put it in a different order, that might be good.
sounds good. And then there'll just be one added for the addition, for the, you
Okay.
guys get it.
So what are we doing about the, under C, are we going to say it's valid, the site plan is valid for the 2 years? Or are we going to say it expires after 2 years if you don't do these things?
So my language incorporated your suggestion, so site plan approval will expire after a period of 2 years, blah, 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 blah.
Okay,
And then that matches the language under D.
yep, okay.
I have a question about the 2-year issue. And it goes back to, I know you have a plan, Adam, to do a total revision of the zoning bylaw. Right, that's your
Oh,
focus.
the ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah, this isn't anywhere in the ordinance.
No, but I'm thinking, I'm wondering if this is the right time to go to 2 years. And the reason why I'm wondering that is sometimes we find that we approve something and it makes us realize that, oh, there's a problem with the zoning ordinance. And if we're gonna be in the midst of really revising the whole thing, do we wanna be locking a problem in for 2 years at this point?
I don't think it's a problem
And so,
necessarily.
just to finish what I'm saying, so wondering, my first question was, okay, is it unreasonable to consider to continue with a 1-year period? And so that's why there's the list of towns. I just did a quick survey of towns to find out which other towns in the region are at 1 year and which are at 2 years. And most of them are at 1 year, which makes me think, I know we're trying to be responsive to developers who are arguing that they need more time to, get their money situation or, but we are, in this ordinance, we do, or in this site plan review regs, we do allow an extension if the applicant isn't able to get their act together. So I kind of feel like I'm just not sure this is the right time to be expanding that period, because it would effectively be, 2.5 years if we grant them an extension. And things happen with our zoning, where it really is no longer, we realize that it no longer really is fitting the bill.
It pertains, pretty much pertains to whether the site plan approval expires or not. Because if we give them an approval, they're exempt for 7 years now from our changing to zoning.
For subdivisions, right?
For site plans as well. Yeah, site plans, they've got a 7-year protection now there for zoning changes. Now, we're just saying that we're going to give them an extra year to get their ducks in a row, we'll say, get their financing to get something done. And either way, because we end up generally, I can't think of maybe one time or whatever, we have not granted a 1-year extension to a site plan because they didn't get something there, they didn't get financing or something like that. We generally do grant them the extension. And we've done it quite a few times, which might say that we have a need for a 2-year, grace period, we'll say, for them to get everything going. I'm just wondering, I don't think the zoning has as much to do with it as working with the contractors, or not contractors, the applicant themselves. If the planning board approves a site, then obviously it's okay with the planning board, it meets our zoning and all that type of stuff, and we don't mind seeing that, whatever it is, built in that particular spot. So are we saying that we'd rather them not be able to get, going in 1 year? Do we want to push them, put their feet to the fire that they have to start with that in that 1 year, or does it make any difference whether they start in 1 year or 2 years? It's not a zoning change. I'm not explaining it properly, probably.
I know what you're saying, and I'm saying, I'd like to see them get their act together in 1 year.
I kind of have a problem with that language, get their act together. I just think it's tough when you're doing a big development. You cannot tie it together in a year. It's impossible. And I think there's a demonstrated need for expanding that timeline to 2 years. Frankly, 3 years is barely enough time to get a big development together. So 2 years plus a year extension, I think that's the minimum of what we should be doing right now, especially with the amount of extensions you all have approved in the last couple of years. I think a year is the minimum. I think 2 years is the absolute minimum we should be expanding to. But I think it's necessary. We have to. I don't think we have an option, because we're going to keep doing extensions, and it's going to be, yeah.
I agree too, because we always issue the extensions, but it's just an extra step they have to do to the planning board, and they have to keep track of this or that. If they have 2 years, Richard.
But if you give them 2 years, they have another, so you have a total of 3 years.
If we give them that extension, but they could, you're right, we could give them another extension, they have 3 years to start the project.
And if our history is that we're going to do that, then you have a 3-year period. Any construction, and like you're in real estate, if somebody's gonna buy a house, don't they get pre-approved mostly? So they know.
Houses are different than when you talk
No,
commercial.
I understand, but my premise is, if somebody's going to go and go after a development, they're gonna go to the bank first to find out if they can get them, here's what we're thinking of doing. Is it a viable thing for the bank to finance? So they know up front when they come in here, pretty much, or they should, know if they're gonna be able to build it and not have to go through 2 years to try and find money to do a project.
Yeah, that's a good point. I see your point, I understand that point, but it's not always money. Sometimes it's contractors. Sometimes you can't get the contractor that you want, or get them all lined up within that short 1 year period to do a project like that.
Yeah, and sometimes when you get
Sometimes
a
it's
lump of
difficult
money
to do.
approved by your investors, then you gotta go get contractors to fit into that. And the town has run into this where we haven't had bids on contracts that we wanted. So you gotta go back and do a rebid because it doesn't fit what money you have.
But the 1 year, that if they are having difficulty, they get the 1 year extension. So you have a 2 year period now to get everything going. If we take and change this, then we're basically giving them 3 years. Okay, so we're gonna give them 3 years, and if they get going, but then things fall apart. Should we, on a project of a major size, require a bond?
It does in
Liquidity
certain
and
cases,
incentive.
but only for infrastructure, where the town would have to pick it up and if they defaulted on it.
What about reclaiming property that has been,
Well, you may not reclaim the property, they just may not be able to go forward with their project, but they retain the property.
And it's still private property, the
Yeah.
town can't go in there and reclaim
No, no.
something because they want it done. But I can't see, if we do go to the 2 year, I can't see the planning board issuing too many 1 more year, too many 3 year ones on there.
And we can look at that
Generally,
with a stricter eye on that 3rd year too.
they have to show, just
real
cause or
cause.
good cause that it's gonna need another year rather than 2 years to get the thing going.
Do we know of, I believe we probably don't, but what percentage of applicants come in and ask for an extension?
No, just for what we've seen on the board, we've issued them on the larger projects anyways, but don't really know the percentage.
Because the fact that we, do have to approve extensions doesn't necessarily warrant going to 2 years.
No, and we don't have to approve them. We do generally approve them because we're working with the contractors. And I think I just lost my train of thought, but thank you. But if if we're gonna end up giving them 2 years anyway, they generally,
I think not
some-
granting
some-
an extension is a tough thing.
it is, if they've had 1 year, it'd be a really tough thing. But if they've had 2 years, I think it'd be
Well,
easier.
sometimes when they're going after their funding, they have an idea they might be able to get it, but depending on how the application comes down, they may not apply for their funding right off the bat, because they're not gonna get approvals. They only wanna put so much money out there, especially if they want it to develop like our favorite one there. You can only extend yourself out so much where you don't have any recourse to get more funding. So sometimes it does take 2 years to get your funding on a major project. When you're talking millions versus a house, which is a couple $100,000 to $500,000, I guess now. But there's a big difference there in commercial property.
I think we want them to start as soon as possible so we can start.
And sometimes you get your funding for, say, $10 million, but then your project comes in, the cheapest or the least expensive contractor wants $13 million. Then you gotta go back and try to get more funding for it.
Well, it's in the contractor's and the applicant's best interest to start as soon as possible, because of price
Well,
increases
it
in
is.
materials and labor
It
costs
is,
and all that
but
type of stuff. So they
I
aren't
felt-
dragging their feet on purpose for 2 years.
That's right.
I know I'm not trying to convince you, because you're for the 2-year thing, but I'm just saying, they aren't dragging their feet to get an extra 2 years or 3 years. They want to start that project, and they want to get it finished, and they want to start making money on the thing. So, it's probably something beyond their control if they need that extra year. And if they know they have the extra year from the beginning, I think it might be better for them. We can think about it, we can move on the rest of it and think about that, but are we in some kind of agreement about the 2-year, or we're still on the fence?
I think we found the monkey in the room.
Still on the fence about it, right? All right, let's think about it. And, let's see, what else? We've done that, down to 30 days for approval. And, yeah, that brings us down to conditional approvals. That's where the next change is, right, Adam?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. And I did have some wording on that, too. Let's see, what do we have? Let me read. So, I'm just going to read what you have here, Adam. Pursuant to RSA 676-4II, 1, the board may grant conditional approval of a site plan application without further public hearing only when such conditions, yeah, and we have this in our administrative in nature, we know that in the RSAs, involve no discretionary judgment on the part of the board or involve the applicant's possession of permits and approvals granted by other boards or agencies. That's in the RSAs, that's what we can do. They don't have to come to another public hearing. Then we've got, and I've reworded this around a little bit for you, but I'm going to read what you have in your, Adam. If an application is conditionally approved, the applicant has 1 year starting the day following the board's decision to meet any conditions which shall be met prior to the signature of the planning board chair on the plan. All conditions that must be met after the plan is signed. Signed shall be satisfied within 2 years. The applicant may request a reasonable extension of the time limit for satisfying the conditions prior to the planning board granting a conditional approval. I don't think they should have 2 years to meet those conditions. I don't know, I think.
It just coincided with the site plan approval change.
With that change, yeah,
Yeah.
but this is different, those conditions are different, in my opinion, I'll tell you why, because if they have 2 years to meet a condition, and say it's a condition that requires a public hearing, then they've got a couple of years before another whole public hearing comes up on meeting those conditions there. I'm not talking about the administrative ones, I'm talking about the others, you know, the ones that have to be on the site plan. A condition that the planning board put on there that this drainage has to be so, you know, so far from here, or even a fence, something as small as a fence has to go on that site plan. They should be able to get that on there within 1 year, I would think.
So on the plan.
On the plan,
Yep.
yeah, and a public hearing, because we have to have a hearing. If it goes on the plan, if it's not administrative, then we have to have a compliance hearing. And I've just got some wording to suggest, I'll just put it out there, which would be, it'd be a new B, because the A stays the same, because we already do that, and they don't have to have a public hearing to come in for that. They can just show to Adam that they have their permits and all that type of stuff, and everything can go on. So a new B might say all other conditions, because it talks about the administrative ones there. Then it says all other conditions shall be recorded on the plat applicant shall require a public compliance hearing and notice as provided in RSA 676:4 ID. Then under C, it says, if an application is conditionally approved pursuant to 7A or 7B of this section, the applicant has 1 year to meet the conditions, starting the day following the board's decision to approve the site plan. And again, that's because if we've asked them to do something on the site plan, they shouldn't be able to drag it out for another year, I don't think. They should be, either they're gonna put it on the site plan or they're not. Either we're gonna have a public hearing to decide, preferably within a month or two of when we've made the approval, conditional approval, to have a compliance hearing there. And as far as the ones go about the permits and those types of things there, those should be, I think, easily acquired within 1 year. They have been so far, anyway. That's what I'm thinking. We should have just 1 year to do it, and it lays out what the compliance part of it is. They have to have a public hearing if it goes on the plat. It has to be on the plat, it has to come before the board, have a compliance hearing, and the planning board approves that they've done the conditions. We've already approved the plat if they have to have a hearing. So that's already been approved, but the conditions have to be added on to the plat. And they shouldn't be able to drag their feet out for 2 years to do it.
On this list, my note to myself, there is no C, there is a C in the book here.
In our
Our
site plan regs?
Yeah. But then it covers compliance hearing.
Yeah, maybe that's, well, I've just added a C in there.
We
And
shuffled them.
talks about that, yeah, that kind of has to be in there, I think anyways. Again, it says about if the application is conditionally approved, again, that means that they have to come back here for a hearing. The approval with conditions about the administrative part or permits and those types of things, they've got their approval and they just have to see Adam to show that they've complied with that. But anything else other than that, anything that requires a judgment by the planning board or anything like that, again, has to be a condition that's approved by the planning board. And we have in our regulations, I think we put last year, that during the public hearing, we give the applicant a chance to decide whether they want us to continue the public hearing while they get their conditions all set on the plat, or if they want us to approve it, if we're going to approve it that night, and they can come back for a compliance hearing. It's their call. It makes sense to me if they continue, Adam.
We can keep the current language that we have then, because I think what you proposed pretty closely mirrors
What we already have in
what
there.
we already have. I mean, if you want me to add 1 year, so we currently have all other conditions shall require a public compliance hearing and notice as provided in RSA 6764 ID.
Yep.
So we can just keep the language we have. If that's fine.
Same thing there.
It's the same
okay.
thing. Yeah. If you want me to add in 1 year, I can. But if
Yeah, we should say when it runs out.
Yep.
We don't have anything in there when it runs out, but they should be, they have 1 year for, you're right. They have 1 year for the administrative ones, but we haven't put in the time for the conditionally approved ones. So yeah, I think that should be in there.
Yeah, okay.
Because we don't want to be waiting for if it goes to 2 years that we give them, we don't want to be waiting 2 years for a compliance hearing.
Okay.
And if we stay with 1 year, would that still be 1 year for the conditional?
It'd have to be. So we'll be playing around with this then still, I think.
We have a couple more meetings for
Yep.
this, yeah.
Okay, where are we here with our, I think we're to the end of it there, by golly. So we'll hang on to these right here that Victoria gave us.
So I'll keep bringing drafts until you guys are happy. And then if there's any other sections you guys want to talk about, please. Now's the time of year we should be doing it.
Yeah, appreciate it, Adam. Thank you.
Really quick, unless you guys have anything else, we will be hearing from SABRPC soon. They sent us a proposal for the ordinance audit. We haven't accepted it or anything yet, but staff will be looking it over. Then it'll be going to the Board of Selectmen because it's an item that comes out of planning's budget. They will have to approve it. And so once they approve it, then we're gonna set up a meeting between you guys and SWRPC's rep with some goals and what they wanna do and what you guys wanna see So, maybe start reading through the ordinance, noting any oddities, things you want to see before that date. So we probably have another month and a half before that happens.
So is there money there to do it, or that's gonna be this year's budget?
Yep, there's money allocated in planning's budget. So
Already then, right?
Already, it's not approved quite yet.
Oh,
but, at the budget
Gonna be,
hearing.
but that'll go into this year, the 2026 budget then? It'll be-
Correct.
The money will be voted on town meeting then?
Yeah,
So we'll have it this year?
yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing's gonna happen until that money is officially voted on, but we do have it allocated right now. So plan on looking through the ordinance, coming up with things you wanna see, and be ready to talk to, the SWRPC rep on that.
Okay, well, shall we have that at a regular planning board meeting, or shall we have a separate meeting, the planning board, that the public isn't here to do all that business?
I think it'll be a regular
Regular meeting?
meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you guys wanna have a special meeting for it.
Not necessarily, but we'll see how that goes. Anything else?
What's up for our next meeting, then? Nothing?
Good time for housekeeping. You guys wanna do any housekeeping?
Yeah, we could do that. Housekeeping, we could do another plan reading thing, get familiar with site plans.
That reminds me, deliberative session, we're not gonna meet until after deliberative session, so they will be discussing planning items.
Right.
At the deliberative session, I will be in attendance, I'm sure one of you will be in attendance. And
Yeah.
so I'll be ready to answer questions. If any of you guys wanna be repping planning board to answer questions, more the merrier.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Other than a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brandon to adjourn, seconded by Richard. Any further discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye.